You wouldn't even say I love you.
Yeah, culture-wise, I seldom share my feelings or my opinion with my parents or my siblings. That might cultivate a bit of keeping everything to myself. And then you have commented, you teach me a lesson because it needed to be said aloud to express something that which will affect the other person as well as yourself. Because people will not know you love them if you don't show action.
I remember there was a moment when I said to you, I said, Paw, after all these years, it doesn't matter how old you are, wouldn't it just be so beautiful to let some love into your life? And I remember there was one night after dinner where you're like, I love you. And I was like, did I just hear that right?
Trust yourself. Whatever comes across your way, my attitude is just deal with it. If I can change it, I do my best. If I can't, I'll take it as it is and soldier on.
Hello and welcome back to another episode on the Beauty Industry Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Sammy Kennedy. Today I am joined by such an incredible woman in my life. She has watched me growing up, she has been a part of the journey, and she's also kind of judged me for what I'm doing, but she's also equally proud. She came all the way from Hong Kong to Perth. She has been a former nurse. Her and my gungung, which is grandpa in Chinese, have both built a business together. They have seen everything that we've been through in family business, from SimWorld through to go-karts, bowling alleys, drive-in cinemas, rodeos, music festival, the new bowling alley. And she is just such a beautiful person. You may have seen her on my stories as Paw, but her name is Julia Lau. And today she's joining me to open up a bit about her journey and also have a chat about some of the things that she's seen throughout her own journey and also mine. Welcome to the show. How are you feeling?
Okay, at the moment.
Were you a little bit hesitant about coming on?
Not exactly, but I look forward to it.
When you look at your whole journey of getting to where you are today, because you're 79, you're turning 80 soon. If anyone's watching this on video, she does not look that old. What is the secret to living a fulfilled life?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think the first thing that jumped into my mind is that you sort of need yourself to trust yourself, and then whatever comes across your way, my attitude is just deal with it. If I can change it, I do my best. If I can't, I'll take it as it is and soldier on. Because sometimes things or circumstances come to you, you may be able to change it, the coming result, or you may not. If it's out of your control, what are you going to do? You don't just sit down and be depressed or do nothing to overcome the situation. You need to find a way to go soldier on, I would say.
And through the years, you've soldiered on from the decision to leave Hong Kong and come to Perth, to raising your own family, to starting a business. What was one of the hardest seasons of your life that you had to soldier on in?
I would say it's the beginning years of the migrant years in Australia, because we leave all our close family and friends all back in Hong Kong, and we were new in a new country. We have no support. Husband gone to work the whole day, and you are by yourself at home, either looking after the children or routine or whatever comes during the day. You have to make your own decision without discussing it with your husband. And sometimes that's a little bit, you need a bit of strength to cope with it, I would say. Maybe the first 5 to 10 years time is hard, very homesick. But as the time goes on, we met friends and friends becomes supportive. It comes better and better.
What actually made you want to leave Hong Kong and move your whole family to Australia? Because when you were in Hong Kong, you had Daniel, which is your oldest son, my mum's brother. And then there's a bit of an age gap between Daniel and mum, but you didn't have mum in Hong Kong. You actually had her in Australia. What was the decision or thought process that led you to go, we're going to leave Hong Kong and actually come to Australia?
The first answer to that question will be, it's a decision made by my husband, and I just go along with him. Another thing is, at that stage when we were married, the culture there is we live with our in-law. So it's not just like Australia where you have the nuclear family, where it's just your family. You have to deal with your own family, husband-wife relationship, you're being a parent thingy, and then you have to deal with the in-law relationship. And at that stage, I was working, and I feel it's a lot of juggling for me to be in that situation. So if there's a choice where I can sort of get out, I probably will appreciate it, because the in-law will always have different conflict of decisions or whatever, which sometimes in our culture we just grumble inside in the heart, but we follow sort of our seniors' decision or whatever, and we are not happy in that way. And so, well, there's a chance we can start all on ourselves, shall I say.
So when you were in Hong Kong, you were nursing,
Mm-hmm.
and then you started your family.
Mm-hmm.
You moved across to Perth.
Mm-hmm.
You had my mum.
Mm-hmm. No, not yet.
Oh,
Because Daniel and Sharon, the gap is about 5 years. And probably I haven't, maybe your mom had told you or not. In between, I got a miscarriage. So within raising up Daniel and Sharon in between these years, homesick, depressed, whatever, that is hard years for me, I would say, to cope with, because daytime when husband goes to work, I'm alone all by myself.
and do you think that made you a hard woman? Like, you were so emotionally closed off. I feel like I'm the first person that's really cracked you. Like, you wouldn't even say I love you.
Yeah, cultural-wise, we seldom say it in our out now. As I think back my growing up years, in my own family, I would say, I'm the one, always keep the things to my heart. I seldom share my feelings or my opinion with my parents or my siblings. That might cultivate a bit of keeping everything to myself.
And has that worked for you?
It has, because it made me very hard to sort of open up to talk something, or open up openly to show affection. That's why you come and you never see us husband and wife hugging in front of other people, because we do have the cultural wise that is a very private sort of showing love. And then you have commanded, we seldom say that I love you. But you teach me a lesson, because it needed to be said aloud to express something that which will affect the other person as well as yourself. Because people will not know you love them if you don't show action. And that's what it says in the scripture as well too. You just not say things, you have to put it into action.
What moment or what was the thing that I said that made you realize that?
Oh, somewhere in between when you never say something like that.
I remember there was a moment when I said to you, we're in my apartment, we're sitting down, and I said, Paw, after all these years, it doesn't matter how old you are, wouldn't it just be so beautiful to let some love into your life? You know, you're this hard woman on the outside and everything's for the family and like protecting, your heart from being hurt. But like, what if you just let that love in and you were able to feel that? And I remember there was one night after dinner where you're like, I love you. And I was like, did I just hear that right? When my mum met my dad, what were your first initial thoughts? Because I know with Chinese culture, were you kind of expecting her to find a Chinese man?
At the bottom of my heart, I would say I loved her to choose an Asian man, okay? But on the other hand, I told myself, we can't blame her because we bring her up in an environment where there is not that many Asian men around. And then it's a cross-culture marriage, of course. And eventually I found that, she's going out with him. There's nothing you can do or whatever. Then that is my attitude, as I said before. I just have to accept it. Once I accept it, my heart feels completely calm. So I look forward to the day of her wedding, okay? And I don't think as parents we have ever said anything about her choosing an Aussie man as her husband. Because if you say that, it will just destroy Sharon's feelings and our relationship. But my acceptance came maybe a year or 2 years after the dating. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
2 years.
That's it. Yeah, because if she doesn't like him or whatever, they will break down. But it lasts Sharon is going along with Tom.
It's funny. My dad told me that you guys weren't so keen on him, but then once he started fixing things around the house and proving that he was useful, there was a little bit more of a, oh, okay, he's not that bad.
That's maybe Tom's
interpretation.
Maybe it's his interpretation, or maybe how we collect. But to begin with, as you say, we hold the affection inside and didn't show physically or externally our acceptance of him before he asks for the marriage, okay? But as time goes by, I truly appreciate Tom's love for Sharon. Over these 20-odd years, they have gone through so much.
Yeah.
I said, thankful God that they are Christians. Because if they are not, this family will be broken. I think a lot of people have come and shared, oh, Sharon, you stay with Tom in spite of all this. They can't understand. But I do understand. They keep their promises, looking after each other.
You've seen the whole journey, like from SimWorld.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that later on found out that was like an $800,000 debt that Dad got us into. And I wouldn't have even been 10. And I remember there was an investment property that they went to purchase in Albany. And that was one day in hopes that it would be something for Mike and I to split and develop or something along the lines of that. And they lost that during the global financial crisis. They had to sell and they lost another couple $100,000 because they just couldn't afford to keep it. And so there's all this debt accumulating from that bad business decision. And then you look at the series of businesses that Dad opened up after that. There was the bowling alley, and then there was the go-karts, there was the drive-in cinema, we had rodeos, we did the music festival. You and Gung Gung saw something in this new bowling alley that Mum didn't even want to see because she was just over struggling and losing money and just being in so much stress. What did you see that she couldn't when you saw that new bowling alley location, when you first walked in there?
I would say it's just the location that struck us.
Purely because of the location, you were like, this business is going to work.
The first one is the location, but the second one is Tom telling us he's buying this lane, buying all those equipment or whatever, not even being able to secure the property. We were very sick. We think it's his decision. We have to sort of, even though we're not 100% keen on looking at him starting the business that way, but we tell us that we need to support him in whatever he will go through. But looking back, when Tom tells the story of how things just fall into places, we are great that he has made the decision to go ahead.
What were your thoughts when we were building the bowling alley and we were kind of on that verge of going bankrupt and losing it all midway through? Not even towards the end. Like, we weren't even halfway through and things started going wrong.
What can we do? We are out in Perth. I can't help physically, and then he has money to worry. And then in the middle of it, when Mike and all the other helpers are doing them to structurally to build it, every day I'm just, God, keep them safe, keep them safe. Don't let any accident happen, because I just worry that way, because you know, so many heavy equipment and cutting, gluing or whatever each day. Just keep them safe. That is always going in my head during the process of construction.
Yeah. It was a pretty crazy time. Like, we had so much money just going constantly and we couldn't afford to actually hire the right builders to build it.
Yes.
And the way that it all came together is just a pure miracle.
Mm-hmm.
When did you end up starting a business with Gung?
It's the circumstances that push us into setting up a business in middle of 90s, that Alex is doing the nursing job at the hospital, and the hospital is a public hospital, but then is sold to the private sector. And so he lost his job. It's offering him a redundancy. At that stage, Alex is in about 50, early 50s. So he was saying, what am I going to do to support the family? Because it's only still a long journey to go on. Luckily, at the time when we were in Hong Kong, he was interested in studying Chinese medicine. But coming over to Australia, because Chinese medicine is using herbs, but the herb supply in Perth is not as abundant, or everything you need will be available. But part of the Chinese medicine has taught you using acupuncture to treat illnesses and so on. And therefore, he think, well, maybe I go into acupuncture because that's not easier for supplies and whatever, rather than the herbs. And so before he's thinking about it, during the nursing years in Australia, he has occasionally doing some acupuncture with friends when they have got some headache or back pain. And so he got experience in that sense. And then the accountant we use has advised us, don't use your home as your office, because when claiming tax, you will get into a lot of trouble and so on. So you need to have a separate place as your clinic or whatever. So we started to looking around and see what we can do. And so luckily he got a friend who's has a property at the place where we are until we are still using this place, and said, perhaps I can rent it out and see how you go with it. So from there, we started renting a room from his business, investment, and so on. We start, but because he's the one who's, so I will say, the practitioner who do the acupuncture, he needs someone to answer the phone, writing receipts, and going to banking, and odds and ends. And I'm free at home, so okay, I helped you. And that start our self-employed business, I would say, up until now.
And when you were running that business, what were some of the biggest challenges that you came into throughout that journey?
First of all, I need to go to TAFE to learn the bookkeeping technique.
Did you go to TAFE?
Yes, for a short course.
I didn't even know that.
Because I'm the one to look after all the expenses, incoming voices, expenditure, whatever, while he can concentrate on treating the patient. First of all, I need to learn the skill. And so I did. And then with a bit of assistance from another accountant in the same complex, she taught me how to record and so on and so on. And therefore, each financial year, I'm the one who's doing the sums, add up everything and hand into the accountant. Because I have this bookkeeping thingy to look after, so I'll know the income and the expenditure, whether it's balance or deficit or profit or whatever. But at that stage, we were not as lucky as you, Sammy, because we have no external anyone to teach us, look at pricing, your profit, how to delegate, what the funds, which area to go, so that at the end of the financial year, you have a profit into your pocket. Even to this day, I was only regretting, this all Sammy knows about this business thing, making profit. We should know when we start our business at that stage. If at that stage we'll have a more profitable income than now we are.
Did you lose a lot of money in those early years in business?
What I'm talking about is I just keep it as balance.
So it's just break even, never getting ahead.
And we were stupid enough not to extract a salary as, even though we are a business partner, we never extract a salary as our income. That is our very stupid planning.
Did you ever change that?
By the time I know it's too late, I would say, towards the end of our retirement. Not towards the end, maybe in the middle of the business year, I realized. I have always asked the accountant, but previous accountants we used never tell us how or explain to us. Because I said, I got all this money in my business account. How am I going to extract it or so withdraw it as my own income or the process? How do I do it? Nobody tells me, so I never like to touch it, because if I did something wrong, taxation department will be after me. I don't like to have that. No. So all the income in the business account is stay in the business account, being used to pay the bills, or occasionally I try to, what is it called? Provider join, not a huge sum, maybe 1,000, 2,000, and put it into our personal account. That's how I draw the business account money into our own account money. So you will see how stupid we are, really.
I guess you don't know any better if you don't have the guidance. And I still see that to this day, where business owners think they're doing the right thing by getting an accountant, but then the accountant doesn't really give a crap about them.
Yes.
They're just there to do their tax compliance. They're not actually there to teach them how to better their financial position and how to minimize their tax. Like some of them just want to do the bare minimum because it's too much effort,
Mm-hmm.
right? Something that mum and dad did that is a stupid thing with their money side of things in the business was from 2012 up until 2023, I think, was when the old bowling alley shut. They did not ever put the prices up. So that same pricing stayed the exact same over the years. And I did the maths on the inflation based on the CPI, and it was up near 25% that inflation had rose. So if you look at that business, it was generating a similar amount of money each year, but the profit was just decreasing and decreasing because suppliers were going up, expenses were going up. Fortunately, we didn't have employees because it was just us as the family running it, but wages would have been another impact that financially. The rent went up. Towards the end, our landlords were just trying to screw us over, just constantly putting the rent up during COVID. And once again, no business guidance, no support. And I kind of wonder if Dad had got a good business mentor, someone who was not emotionally attached, could just look at these business decisions and just say, this is a good idea, this isn't, this is what you need to be aware of. I wonder if we would have suffered for 18 years before we got to somewhere good.
Yeah, exactly what you're talking about. If we at that stage have a mentor to lead us through our own business, we were in a better position. Because, as you say, pricing, we never look at the idea or the principle about pricing. So we start with a price. And once when we, for a long, long time, as you say, didn't want to put up the price.
Because you're scared clients would leave?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's not, actually, clients doesn't matter. It's just our faith hasn't been in there. And then we start with a pricing that is so low, as you say. You just cover the overhead, whatever, and never put into the essence of your own profit, your real own profit into your own pocket.
Yeah.
That is something we were never taught, and then we were, because some migrant idea, I would say, you never know which avenue you go to ask for advice, and you never know how to. At that stage, maybe we didn't even know how to search the internet to get information or whatever. But thankfully, we are still well off, not in a sense wealthy, but well off into the idea that we are not in debt at any stage, and only on the mortgage, of course, okay? But we survive, I would say.
And offer single income too, which is pretty insane.
Yes,
like Gung was the only revenue producing person in that business. When you look at your journey in business, did you get to a stage where you realized saving money is not going to be enough to set you up for the long term?
That idea may not come into my head, but with Alex working at the nursing profession, we were, as I say, slowly managed to save some money after daily expenses and so on. And that's the idea in my head. Is this saving of money, I can put it in the bank and earn some interest, but the interest is not much. So perhaps we can think of something to make the money grow faster or bigger. And because at that stage I stay home, I have time at home when I can read, and I can sort of, at those stages, maybe the newspaper, not the internet yet, and look at some people talk, financial people talking about da-da-da-da, or...
What's da-da-da-da? Like stocks, shares?
The information.
Things to invest in.
Yeah. I can read from the newspaper at that stage. At that stage, the newspaper had this column. I think nowadays they still have, but not as big as because those days newspaper is very thick. And talk about finance, and then of course finance, they talk about shares, property, something like that. So slowly getting some idea, or if I have shares, if I have a property, and then I try to remember, or which suburb property grow faster or maintain the value or whatever in my head. And so when do we start investing is, first of all, Commonwealth Bank starting onto the market, on the share market, and then really get into the share market. And then later on, Telstra gets into the share market. At that stage when they open, what shall I say? They sort of invite, whether you are a big investor or small investor, doesn't matter. It's open to everyone. You can buy a lot of only 100 share, or doesn't matter. So at that stage, the Commonwealth share comes only at $10 per share, and then we talk about, for $10, how many shares we can afford from our saving to put into it. And so we did. And then when Woolworth comes on market, I think it's about $2.50 or something a share. I said, oh, that's cheap. And we get some. Telstra comes on the market. Yeah, a few dollars at that stage when it's the first time that they start it. Oh, that's cheap. We can afford to have some. And so for the money that we save, we bought into the share market. So nowadays, luckily, we have some share in hands. Start at the property, at the unit you live in. And because I have said, I read the newspaper every day, and sometimes I read at the real estate. Those days, the real estate selling the properties, they advertise in the newspaper, and I just look at the suburb that I know which one suburb is worth investing. Oh, there's this tiny unit asking the price. Yeah, oh, that's not too bad. Probably can go and have a look. And so we have a look at small, even though a small unit, but the asking price is something we think we can afford. And the real estate agent at that station, of course, talk to us out. And then at that stage, you can claim that negative gearing with Alex salary. And so he said, why not? Because you rent it out, you have rental income, you have negative gear, and then you borrow the loan, you might not have to pay much for your mortgage, and so on. Oh, I said, that's not a good idea. Not a bad idea, I mean. So, yeah, so we put in an offer and got it.
Now, back then, what was the interest rate that you were paying on that?
Maybe below 10. Maybe below that. Because we got that in the 90s, I think. The interest rate may be below 10. But I can't remember exactly.
Was it the house or the apartment that you were paying 20% interest on?
It's our house. At one stage, it shoot up to even 70% interest rate at that stage. Yeah.
That's crazy, because you look at everyone freaking out now, and it's like 6-7%, depending on where you are and what day it is. But then back then, 17%. And also, people weren't making the money that they were making today.
That's 70%, and then the fortnightly pay after tax, Alex brought home is about $300 a fortnight pay. So 17% interest rate at that stage is very, very
crazy.
When it comes to this question, I would say our culture, family helps family. Planted for so many years, and because when Alex's parents in Hong Kong knows about this 70% interest rate, and at that stage, maybe the exchange rate is exactly at that stage. It's about $1 Aussie to 5 Hong Kong dollars or something like that. And so they were asking how much you owe for it. And then they have, if you continue on paying the mortgage as you borrow from the bank, by the time you finish, you will pay double or whatever you borrow. That's not a wise idea of using your money or whatever. So, and since the interest rate is so high, we loan you some money. You pay out the mortgage first, and you slowly pay us back what we loan you. So we accepted the offer, and that's how we get rid of the mortgage. And so when it comes to bowling business, when Tom is struggling like that, we, as culturally, we said, oh, we have this spare money at hand. Oh, look at him, he's so stressed. Maybe we have out. So that's get us involved.
I called Dad before we came here this morning and I said, I'm interviewing Pawpaw on the podcast. What's one thing that you think about when you think of Pawpaw? And you know what he said? Her generosity. And when we look at business, some people start businesses and they go in with their husband or their wife or their partner. They might take a risk, get a loan out, do that kind of thing. There's going down the route of getting different investors on board. But when I look at our family, especially the Chinese side, they've all been in business. They've all felt the challenges and the struggles. They've all lost money and they've all still persevered no matter what. And one thing that I think is so beautiful about what you and Gung Gung have done for Mum and Dad, and then what Mum and Dad have done for Mike and I, having that person go first and give you the help when you need it, because it wasn't like you were expecting it. It wasn't like you thought you were entitled to it. It was like you were just trying your hardest and they were in a position where they could help you. And then you and Gung Gung be in a position to help Mum and Dad when you knew they were struggling. I remember the day I came over and I was bawling my eyes out and I was like, I don't know why Dad's put this in. And again, we're here. We just can't escape this feeling. And then later on, when we were towards the end of the Wild West bowling fit out, and each time I would call Dad and ask for a check-in, he would say, I just need another 150 grand. I said, that was 150 grand ago that you need 150 grand. Like there was just constantly more and more money. And I remember you guys came in when it was the stamp duty situation. Mm-hmm. So backstory, we had leased the property for a couple of years with the intent to purchase. And so you don't pay stamp duty when you're ready to purchase it. You pay it from the moment that deal's done, even if you're leasing it, even if you haven't purchased it. And so we were so broke that we didn't have the money to pay it. So I believe it started out somewhere around $30,000 and we just didn't have the 30 grand. So we pushed it out. Now, every time you extend it by 6 months, you have to pay 12% extra on it. And so by the time that we actually went to go pay that stamp duty, it was up near almost $70,000 because we had to delay it to get through that period of time. When you look at making those decisions for the family and being able to support them, what goes through your mind?
It comes to, just as Tom said, for the miracle of Brian Hammond. Purely, I think Brian is looking on the personality and character of Tom, that he take the risk of doing that. It's the same apply to us. For these years, we know Tom's character, Tom's personality. So we are confident financially we help him. He will not let us spend. Because you know a lot of these stories where when talking money-wise, even with family, you know the bad story about. So we trust Tom will not let us down. In a way, he, no matter when, he will pay us back. But because he's a person that you can trust. He's describing me as generosity from people. But I would describe he's a person that you can trust. You can rely on him.
You can, definitely. He's had his flaws with bad business decisions, but he's always worked hard. Like, I look at him and he's only ever taken 2 days off a year. He is the most hardworking person I know. Also, mum. You know, mum does not get enough credit for everything that she does behind the scenes. She is like what you are to Gung Gung. She does all the books. She keeps everything organized. She orders all the things. She keeps things running. Like her in Africa right now.
Yes.
I don't think she can leave for longer than 2 weeks because everyone's like, how do you do payroll? And where's that thing that you put? Oh, I'll order it tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes next week and then it becomes next month. Like, it's just crazy. But I look at Dad and the decisions that he's made. I don't think that he's bad at business. I just don't think that he was realistic with some of the things that he was trying to do. And I think his saying is, don't let passion overcloud your judgment. And so I think he always prepared for the best possible case scenario and he had unlimiting belief. Unlimiting money will come, like unlimiting opportunities, like everything. He's a true visionary. And then you look at mum and I guess she's inherited a lot of her beliefs and values from you. And it's like restrictive. I'm not buying it unless it's on special. We can't afford it. Like just the complete opposite. And I guess at the end of the day, I'm grateful that we had both because if both were like Dad, we would have been bankrupt a very long time ago. And if both were like Mum, we probably wouldn't even have a business to begin with because there's one side that's so risk averse and the other that is. Do you know what's quite funny about Dad? He has a very different mindset to Mum. Like Mum will just hoard and hold on and fearful that it will just be taken away one day, which I can understand. Like they've been through so much and a lot of debt. Dad, on the other hand, he will save up all his money to a certain point until he's got enough money to buy the thing he wants. And then he just wipes the bank account clean and then he starts again and he saves up. Now, coming back to what we were talking about with investing, I don't think you ever passed any money advice on to Mum other than you do the bookkeeping. Like, I look at Mum and Dad and their decisions around finances. They didn't have much luck in doing the investment property and they didn't really do shares or anything. Dad, he was into doing the exchange, foreign exchange, but then he lost a lot of money. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's a really interesting scenario of how we've grown up and like what you get taught from your parents and what gets passed on. Now that I'm starting to see how the world's moving, I do believe that if you can build a business with your family, like how beautiful to include them in that because business is hard. And if you hire a manager, you hire employees, like some will stay long time, but like they'll come and go, you know? And I think about, okay, well, what am I building and who am I passing on to and how's it helping? And maybe you didn't expect any of this to turn out the way it did. Like you didn't expect Mum to end up with a white man. You didn't expect to have, 2 grandkids or anything. You didn't expect the bowling alley to happen, but all these cool things have happened because of decisions that we all make every day. I actually remember when I made the decision to go study Chinese medicine at uni. What was your initial thoughts when I told you that?
I was very cautious. I'm not as happy or overexcited as Gong Gong. My cautious is because of the uni you're going. I have doubt about it to begin with, but Gong Gong just trustworthy.
I think at the end of the day, he was like, either way, this is the only way you can get a piece of paper in Australia.
Yes, I agree with that. Because my cautiousness is because of the unit you're going. And then he's excited because he thought, well, someone is studying to take out his business when he retire. But at that stage, I'm not quite sure whether it is what you want. because I haven't talked to you about whether you really want to become. So that's my caution within my heart. As you say, I keep it to myself. I didn't say anything at that stage because you have made up your mind to enroll in it already. And my idea was, if you're really interested in, it's better for you to go to Sydney to study it rather than here. But of course, at that stage,
Financially, that's
that's a monster to step into. But yeah.
For context, the uni that I was going to, it wasn't a uni, it was a college.
Yes.
And what happened is I started studying, and if you don't pay for the course up front or as you go, you pay 25% interest on those course fees. Plus the debt you get fee help, so then you pay the inflation rate. So the amount of debt that I accumulated was up near 45 grand just for the 2 years I studied. So to complete that degree, I would have been in around $90,000 to $100,000 debt. And that would just be to complete the one degree. But what happened is halfway through, COVID happened. They brought in mandatory vaccinations. All the lecturers left, and our class went from 30 students down to 3. I was one of 3. And it just wasn't financially viable. And so they decided to cancel the degree structure that they had. They brought in a new degree structure, and out of the 22, 23 units that I'd done, you got accreditations for the new degree. And so out of all of those parts of different degrees, parts of different units that I'd done, then ended up only accrediting 3 units. So I would have had to repeat that whole degree from the start again. And I just wasn't mentally prepared to add another 4 years on top of the 2 years I'd done, plus the 45K debt I had there, plus another 100,000 just to get this degree where maybe I make 70 to 80K a year. And at the time, I was running the beauty business, and that was doing well, but I was just in severe burnout, because I don't know anyone else who had worked as hard as I would, because I would wake up at 4:30, I would go to the gym, I would go to uni, do a 3-hour lecture, have a nap because I was so burnt out for half an hour, do my next 3-hour lecture, and then I would go to the beauty salon and I would see clients. And then if it was a day where I had an AM lecture and then like clinic at night, I would go to the AM lecture, I would drive to the salon, do clients, and then I would go back to uni. And on top of that, I was also doing marketing. I was also following up with all the messages. So when people talk about, working 40-hour work weeks, like I added it up as around 70 hours because I was only getting 5 to 6 hours sleep a night, and I was really low iron, severe burnout, and I just kept going because I was like, at the end of the day, I'm going to have an established business. I'll have clientele. I can bring acupuncture in because I knew that there was going to be no chance of me being able to do marketing for it because of all the laws and regulations. So I was like, you know what? We'll build this business. I'll have my own beauty wellness center. It'll be a great business. I'll take over this to start off with. That's my long term. And I had so much pride in, I guess, maybe impressing you guys, maybe sounding like I had a direction, because in my high school years, I was an absolute menace. I didn't really have much of a positive impact on my parents' lives. I stressed them out more than anything. We have such a great relationship now. But I think, back then I was doing the degree because I felt like I didn't know what else to do. I wasn't smart enough to do physio. I thought about chiro, but then I was like, there's a lot of things that can go wrong with chiro. Do I want that kind of liability? And then I didn't want to go to TAFE because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I guess deep down, I've always been interested in business because of my upbringing, but I didn't know how to make that an actual career. What were your thoughts when I told you about the degree getting cancelled?
A bit disappointed. And then another way is, what are you going to do next? That's the 2 things in my head. And when you're sort of stepping into this marketing thingy, because I don't understand nowadays technology or whatever business now, how can she make money?
You and Dad both didn't have much belief or understanding
Yes.
in the online world. So it was
Yes.
like, how are you going to make money?
Yes.
Is this actually legit? I don't know if this is a full-term career for you.
Yeah.
Now that you've seen almost like 4 or 5 years of this play out, what are your thoughts?
Amazing. What you're doing is amazing. And then I just like to say, when I start business, I want to know Sammy and become Sammy's client. That's my advice to people out there, especially the solo business owner. Get in touch with Sammy, because we lack the mentor. Yeah. The mentor when we start our business. Even though we're blessed that we are up to this stage, we are very blessed. But if you start early, under the guidance of Sammy, you will be very good position when you reach your 40 or 50. Much better than us.
You know what's crazy is like my biggest drive for learning business was just not wanting to see us put more money into business and lose.
Yes.
I think a lot of people are driven by different things, and sometimes you operate from a place of like wanting to avoid pain or wanting to achieve pleasure, and mine was avoiding pain 100%. Like I didn't want to be my genuine belief set that I walked away with from my parents into my adult years was that we'll never ever travel because we can't afford it. I won't make more than $60,000 a year. And you end up marrying someone and you settle down and you have a house, and that's life. And I just kind of got to a point where I was like, I don't want that. Like, sure, parts of it are nice and in different stages, but I don't want that to just be it. And so I started investing and learning as much as I could, and then that opened up doors and opportunities and the people that I met. And I started to realize that if I didn't go through that immense pain and struggle and not having all the things that other kids had, I probably wouldn't be as driven as I am today. But then the other side of it is like seeing other people go through this, because I've felt that pain and I've been through it, like not just once, but 8 times, 8 different businesses. I have 4 businesses of my own. I genuinely understand the mindset when you're at that stage and you're scared to take that next step, or when it feels like everything's falling apart and there's nowhere to go. Like, it's just going through all these different experiences. You either choose to be a victim and you stay in that frame of mind where you think, oh, the world's out to get me and I'm never going to be anything, and, you know, why do I even bother? Like, it's so easy to get trapped in that mindset. Or you go, what is this teaching me? And what's the next step? Or what's the next thing that I'm going to learn? Or how can I use this to help me in the future? And failure is inevitable. When you are running a business, when you're doing something that you've never done for the first time, like, failure is part of the process. And I think when you can remove the emotional attachment of making failure mean something about you and look at, okay, how is it serving you? How is it helping you grow as a person? How is it setting you up for the next phase? I look at our whole journey, and one thing that became really apparent is I don't think we could have ever handled the amount of pressure, the amount of responsibility, and the amount of money that we make today back then. And I think about that in every level of your life. Like, what got you from 0 to 5K months will not get you to 20K months. What got you to 20K months will not get you to 100K months. So when you kind of look at the different stages of business, every time that you're making a mistake, every time that you're faced with a new challenge, it's either teaching you something, allowing you to fix something, or it's setting you up for the next stage so you're ready and you're prepared. When you look at everything that you've learned about business up until now, what's one piece of advice that you'd have to share that you wish someone gave you earlier?
How to handle our finances from the business to begin with. Yeah.
You're so Chinese. Everything's about money.
No, because if you had more idea, about how to structure the business, we'll be in a better position. Yeah, not as you say, work hard every day, but seems like you gain nothing.
Yeah.
Relax with your money you earn, you don't get your money and carry it to the grave, do you? You get it for you when you have goes to the stage where you can enjoy using your money to enjoy.
You know, my mind works so differently now that I'm in business and I've had the support and people around me that have shown me, I guess, different ways that you can set your life up. I think part of seeing what you and Gung Gung have been able to do, like you've had this beautiful opportunity to help with bowling. This office, this was one day maybe going to become my acupuncture studio that I were to take over and buy, but now it's a podcast studio. Like I bet that never kind of came into any of our thoughts. But I think now I'm like with Nick, I go, the decisions we make today are actually potentially going to set up our children, grandchildren, like future generations, just by small sacrifices you make today. And I look at most people, they don't start investing until they have kids or they start to realize, what am I going to do? How am I going to retire? And
to start early. Yes.
Like I can't stress it enough. I'm like to every single business owner that I know, I might be younger than you, but I also know that the earlier you start, the better.
Yes.
And what sacrifices you choose to make now, regardless of where you're at in business or life, you're always going to have to make sacrifices. And people go, I don't have money or I can't afford to do it. And I'm like, the exact reason why you can't afford to do it is exactly why you should. If you say you can't invest because you have no money, then you need to invest more than anyone else, because when else are you ever going to have money in your life? And I look at how people spend now. It's so different from probably your generation. And I'll explain why I believe this. Back when you were growing up, you didn't have the internet. So half the e-commerce businesses that are out there today probably didn't even exist or have the global exposure that we now have. There weren't ads, so you weren't constantly getting brainwashed with 50 different products that you're like, oh, that's nice, might buy that one. That comes up in the ads. And I guess you didn't really even have TV back then as much either.
We do have TV, yes.
Okay, so you had TV, but you didn't have the internet. Not until later.
Yes, sure.
So then all you've really got is newspapers or magazines or things that are popping up. So it's not just so constant in your face. I was watching this video on the internet and the guy is trying to sell these women a washing machine. And they're like, why would I buy that? You know, I can wash my clothes perfectly good. And he's like, well, you can get your time back. You know, you put your load in and you can go enjoy, make yourself a cup of tea, read a book. And then they sit there and they go, well, I don't want to buy the washing machine because then I've got to buy washing powder and then I've got to pay for electricity. And that one video just made me realize how much more that we think we have to spend on because we're consumers. So every time you buy something, there's always like other things that are also needing to be bought or used to make that thing work. And so I've made huge sacrifices in my own life to make sure that I could afford to invest. Like I didn't buy any new shoes for like 4 years. I really didn't do much online shopping at all. I remember during COVID when we got stimulus money, I was one of those people that just bought clothes with it. I haven't barely bought anything online. Like every time I think about purchasing something, I go, okay, is it either something that's going to bring value to my life or is it going to bring a return on investment? So podcast studio, there's an ROI there. It can be rented out. We can make money back from it. You know, travel, that's a huge value for me. Going and having these experiences, they create memories, they bring fulfillment. But just buying crap off Temu or Amazon, I'm just not one of those people because I think, okay, well, if I can't afford to buy this twice, then I'm not going to buy it. And so every time that I buy something, I think, okay, well, can I afford to invest that money as well? Because if I can't, then it kind of gives you that second thought of like, should I actually prioritize buying this? Because I think even in business, there's a lot of things that, you're always, if you're not careful, there's always something new you can buy. And I can see this with like Wild West Bowling, there's a new ice cream machine that was 30 grand. And I'm like, do we need this to actually survive? Yes or no? And sometimes there's things where you just don't buy that until later on because you know that, okay, there's a better time. And then there's other times where there's, you'll miss out on opportunity if you don't get it. But I think in today's world, as business owners, knowing your numbers and thinking about, okay, how do I build profit into the business, but then investing the profit. Like I cannot stress this enough, like investing your money into assets is what's going to build cash flow. It's going to appreciate in value. That's where you actually get wealth from. And I think there's a lot of courses out there and people selling trainings and they're like, learn how to do this and you'll get financial freedom. But that is not the truth because you actually need to invest that money into assets that then set you up for the long term. How many founders do you know that have like sold and exited their business? Yes, they might have a lump sum of money, but if that money's not growing, then you just keep spending that money and eventually it goes to zero. If you put that money into stocks, shares, if you put it into an ETF, if you put it into commodities, if you put it into property, you're either going to get tax benefits if it runs at a loss or you're going to see it appreciate in value and bring you more money. And I think now that's something that I'm really pushing for Wild West Bowling because we've been in so much debt. Yes, the main priority is to pay off the debt.
Yes.
But my dad's whole perspective on bowling is like, oh, that's my super there. I said, Dad, like, unless you sell it or you have a manager running it and you're getting paid out of it some way, that's not your super because how are you making money out of that? Like, yes, the business makes money, but like if he wanted to have his whole retirement plan, he either has to be drawing money, equity, something out of that or sell it. And I think this is where I want to talk about this to business owners because if you have debt, if you've taken out loans, if you sell your business, after you pay capital gains tax, after you pay all the debt off, you're not left with that much.
Yes.
And if you can have a revenue producing asset, you're better off giving someone equity, having them as a manager in the business and they're incentivized to run it to keep that cash flow coming in. Because I think, right now, especially in the beauty industry, I'm seeing a lot of fire sales of businesses and it's really interesting because they'll say, oh yeah, like great clientele and great cash flow. And I think about the amount of money it takes to do up a business when it's been put in a bad position versus plus getting the loan out to pay that business off versus just putting all the money that you would have probably bought the business for and also had to do up a business. You're better off just doing it on your own, fresh start. Like, I think there's a lot of people who are trying to sell their businesses and there's some very vulnerable people out there who don't have business knowledge that are going to get taken advantage of.
Yes.
And if you are business minded and you have that background, different story. But if you're not business minded and you're buying these businesses that are trying to just fire sale right now, all you're doing is bailing them out of debt and then you're taking on all the stresses that they couldn't fix. Unless the business is set up well, it has proven systems and processes. It can run without the owner being there. Like, just be so mindful of buying these businesses because, I know that's a bit of a sidetrack, but I just keep seeing it pop up and I'm like, oh, I just wish I could save you. Aside from business, how has being a mum and being a grandma been as an experience for you?
Being a mum, when I reflected over the years, I would say I'm not prepared at that stage. So if you want to be a mom, I would say you better educate yourself and organize yourself before you have a kid. That's because the kid early growing years depends on you. Then you have to be there to educate them, lead them, guide them, support them, whatever. At my stage when I become a mom, I have no idea what to do. And then when we migrate to Australia, Daniel is only about 3.5, he's still young. I desperately like to read, to get more knowledge of how to handle kids, so shall I say, to recognize the symptoms, to know solutions to problems. Be well educated before you start a family as a mom. Because the 0 to 12 years may be easier, but the 12 to 18 years or even the 20s or whatever, that's the hardest years you as a mom to go through. You need to know how to solve the situation or solve conflicts or keeping the relationship. If you and understand the character of your children. I'm not saying that you avoid conflict, but when it comes, how do you handle it? There's a lot of, unfortunately, there's no uni degree for this kind of things. As a grandma, I come to understand grandma is grandma. Grandma is not mom. So
Grandma's more fun.
So grandma has to respect the mom's decision. So don't influence the mom to make the grandkid do this. That is a terrible, terrible idea in your head. Just keep the distance. You're not a mom, you're just a grandma. Whatever from this, the moms, not the grandmas.
Did mum give you lots of calls about problems with me when I was in those teenage years?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Because you moved away to Albany so early.
Yeah.
And I guess at that time when mom is in Albany with you and she suffered depression as well. And she suffered kind of homesick because she moved to Albany. She lost all her friends in Perth and a new environment where she has to work and reset up friendships and whatever. And as you know, she and I is not so close as she's growing up. So she didn't, sort of share her concern or problem with you. But as you go into your teenage years, I can see, I'm so worried. I was worried. Yeah, I was. But as your father said, turn to the good side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because as you experience during the teen years, I think every kid into their teenage years, they have very strong character or whatever. They want to be independent, but they are not at that stage. Of course, friends around them makes an influence on them too. That's why I say, being a mom, you have to be aware of this. You can't just let your kid, bye-bye, go to school, and whether they get into good group of people or bad group of people. Yeah, you need to be there to inform. You need to be there to involve with your child. You just can't let babysitting, can't let childcare to take care. That's my personal opinion. Of course, each family has their difficult situations, but stay-at-home home is worth it, I would say. Sometimes, yeah.
It's so hard as well because I can see that some people may want to be a stay-at-home mum, but financially one income just doesn't work. And then there's other situations where, like maybe you can do part-time and then you can kind of do a hybrid version. But then the other side of it, which I find so tough for mums in today's world, is that by the time they pay for the childcare fees, it's literally like they're just breaking even. They may as well be a stay-at-home mum anyways. They're not really coming out on top. So I think about when I have kids, like what is that going to look like? And do I go hard in business now, set myself up and then really be present in that era and just kind of take the foot off the pedal for a bit and then come back into it later? Or will I still be, you know, working on something in the background? Like, I don't know. I really don't know. And I think part of me has always been so anti having kids because I just haven't felt maternal at all. And I guess in my own life, I've just realized that you only get one shot, and I don't want to give up all the opportunity and the freedom that I have now. But I also know if I got to 40 or 50 and I didn't have kids, there'd kind of be this void. So it'll be interesting to see what plays out. And I never thought like Nick and my age gap would show that much until now. And he's like, oh, yeah, like I'm kind of ready to have kids. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Like, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. But then at the other stage, like it's crazy because mum would have been pregnant with me right now at my age, which I just find wild. But then I love that mum and dad are the age they are at the age Mike and I are. So we still do get to bond, and they're not too old, and you get to be in my life. Like if mum waited until she was 35 to have kids, I don't know if you would be here in my life or if we would have really spent that much time together. So it's all kind of worked out in the way it's meant to, which is cool. Yes. And the one thing that I'm really grateful for that you've taught me is to value family. And you're not always going to agree with them. It's not always going to be easy, but the love and the belief and the support is still there. And everything that I'm building now, I want to be able to set up future generations and to be able to be the support person that you and Gung Gung have been for our whole family, how Gung Gung's parents were for you guys. Like, being able to build something with your family is so special, and I really appreciate and love that you've been able to lead the way for such a impactful thing in all of our lives. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. I hope it wasn't too bad. Any last words of wisdom from Paw?
Anyone who wants to get help from Sammy, go and get it. Don't hesitate.
Oh, you're such a little cheerleader.
Yeah, have confidence in her. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today and for also being a part of my life, my journey to building this. If you don't know, Paw was actually the person that made all of this happen. She told Gung Gung that she can't bear to watch me in my studio apartment moving all the chairs and everything around. So today we're here because Paw facilitated the opportunity for me to move into this room, and now it's a podcast studio, and it's all because of you. So thank you.
Okay.
All right, we'll catch you for the next episode. If you love this content, please leave a comment below or hit subscribe so you can keep seeing us pop up in YouTube. Have an amazing week, and we'll catch you for the next one. Bye.